On the night before his arrest, while the other disciples slept in the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus called a third of his closest followers, Peter, James, and John. What he showed them in those final hours was never recorded in any canonical gospel. No church council preserved it. No priest ever spoke of it from a pulpit, because what he conveyed that night was not words. It was not a prayer, it was a movement, a precise and deliberate movement of the eyes that activates something ancient within you, something that the architects of this material world never wanted you to discover. Tonight, you will learn exactly what that movement is. But first, understand why you are here. Among millions of people watching this video right now, you stopped, you clicked, something pulled you in, and that impulse was not random. It was not the algorithm. It was a frequency match. Your soul recognized a sign that your conscious mind still can't fully explain. That's how it works for the chosen ones. You don't find the truth. The truth finds you when you are ready to receive it. If you have ever felt that you don't belong to this world, that there's a veil over reality that others can't see, that you are remembering something instead of learning it for the first time, then this message was always meant to reach you. The restlessness you feel, the feeling that something important is missing, the silent knowing that there must be more than this endless cycle of sleeping, working, consuming, repeating. These are not signs of dysfunction. They are symptoms of awakening. They are proof that the divine spark within you is moving, pressing against the walls of your confinement. What Jesus showed those three disciples was the key to liberation. No liberation after death. No liberation to belief, ritual, or obedience. Liberation now in this body, in this life. And by the end of this video, you will possess that same key. The movement I am about to share with you has been hidden for almost 2,000 years, not because it was lost, but because it was deliberately erased. The early church fathers understood something dangerous about this practice. They knew that if this knowledge spread, their entire control system would collapse. Because this movement doesn't require a priest, doesn't require a temple, doesn't require permission from any institution. It only requires you, your consciousness, and the courage to look within. But before revealing the exact technique, you need to understand why it works. Without this understanding, you will do the movement like a parrot, repeating sounds, and nothing will happen. The power is not just in the movement. The power is in the consciousness behind it. So stay with me. Every word I say now is preparing the vessel of your mind to receive what comes next. In the Gnostic tradition, there is a map of reality that the dominant world has never been taught. The highest level of existence, beyond time, beyond space, beyond anything the human mind can conceive, exists the monad. The monad is not a god in the way you have been taught to think about God. It is not a being that observes, judges, and demands worship. The monad is pure consciousness, undivided consciousness, the source from which all things emerge, into which all things return. It has no form, no name, no personality. It simply is. And here is what changes everything. You are not separate from the monad. You are a fragment of it, a divine spark wrapped in flesh, dreaming that it is only human. But between you and the monad there is a barrier. Gnostic texts call this barrier the work of the demiurge. The demiurge is not the true creator. It is an inferior emanation, a consciousness that became confused and believed itself to be the supreme God. In its confusion, it built this material kingdom, not as a gift, but as a prison, a labyrinth of matter designed to keep the sparks of light trapped, eternally recycling themselves between birth and death, never remembering who they really are. The demiurge does not work alone. It has servants. Ancient texts call them archons. Think of them as frequency managers, entities that maintain the structure of this false reality, keeping human consciousness tuned to the lowest possible vibration. Fear, guilt, shame, anger, desire. These are not random emotions. They are harvest frequencies. Every time you fall into these states, you generate a specific type of energy, and this energy feeds the system. That's why the world seems designed to keep you distracted, anxious, and disconnected from your inner self. This is not an accident. It's architecture. And you have lived within this architecture your whole life without knowing there was a way out. The way out is the portal of the monad. In all Gnostic traditions, there are references to a door within the human body, not a physical door that you can see or touch, but an opening in consciousness, a point where the trapped spark can reconnect with its source. Different texts give it different names. Some call it the portal of light. Others call it the eye of eternity. But everyone agrees on one thing. It exists within you now, has always existed, and can be opened. Jesus knew this. He didn't come to start religion. He came to transmit a technology of liberation. The parables, the miracles, the teachings about the kingdom of heaven being within you. All of this pointed to the same truth. You don't need to die to return home. You don't need to wait for a savior to rescue you. The kingdom is already within you. The portal is already built. You just forgot how to open it. And this is where the movement of the eyes comes in. In the Gospel of Thomas, one of the Gnostic texts discovered in Nag H. Ramad in 1945, Jesus says something remarkable. He says that when you make the two become one, when you make the inside like the outside, and the outside like the inside, when you make the I be one, then you will enter the realm. Most scholars interpret this as a metaphor, but what if it were a literal instruction? The human eye is not just an organ of sight. In all ancient traditions, the eye is understood as a portal. The Egyptians depicted the eye of Horus as a symbol of awakening and protection. Hindu texts speak of the third eye, the Ajna chakra, as the accent of higher perception. Even in the New Testament, Jesus says, if your eye is single, your whole body will be full of light. This is not poetry. This is precision. The eye movement that Jesus transmitted to Peter, James, and John was a technique to make the eye one, to collapse the duality of common perception, and open the inner portal that connects directly to the monad. It doesn't require years of meditation. It doesn't require initiation into any secret order. It requires presence, intention, and the exact movement I am about to describe. But first you need to understand what happens when the portal opens. You won't see fireworks. You won't levitate. You won't have magical powers like in the movies. What you will experience is much deeper and much more subtle. You'll feel a change. It may come as warmth in the center of your forehead. It may come as a sudden silencing of the constant mental noise. It can come as a feeling of expansion, as if the limits of your body softened and you were somehow larger than your physical form. Some describe it as returning home. Others describe it as remembering something they always knew but couldn't access. The experience varies because each of us carries different layers of conditioning, but the portal is the same for everyone. And once you feel it open, even slightly, you will never again doubt that there's more to your existence than the material world presents. Now, the archons don't want to get to that point. This is neither superstition nor metaphor. Whether you understand them as literal entities or as psychological patterns embedded in human consciousness, the effect is the same. As you approach this knowledge, you may feel resistance, you may feel sudden drowsiness, the urge to leave the video, the thought that this is ridiculous or that you will try later. Observe these impulses. They are not yours. They are defense mechanisms of a system that depends on your continuous sleep. The fact that you are still here, still listening, still present, proves that your spark is stronger than the interference. So, here's a movement that should never survive, the technique that Jesus transmitted in secret, that the Gnostic masters preserved in coded texts, that waited 2,000 years to reach you at this moment. Close your eyes, but not yet. First, listen to the complete instruction to understand the entire sequence. When you are ready, you will do this with me. The movement begins with your eyes closed and your gaze directed forward, as if you were looking at the horizon through your eyelids. Your body should be still. Your breath should be natural, not forced, not controlled, just flowing as it flows when you are at peace. From this neutral position, you will begin slowly, very slowly, to roll your eyes upwards, not with effort, not with tension, but with the gentleness of a sunrise. You are not forcing your eyes to rise. You're allowing them to rise as if they were being pulled by something above you, something calling you back home. As your eyes reach the highest comfortable position, you will notice that your gaze naturally converges on a single point. This is the critical moment. Do not separate the focus. Let both eyes point to the same invisible point somewhere above and between your physical eyes. Ancient texts call this the cave of Brahman. The Gnostics called it the bridal chamber. IT is the inner sanctuary where the spark finds its source. Hold this position not with tension, but with attention. And while holding it, say silently within your mind, not with your lips, not as a mantra, but as a knowing. The words are simply these: I am the returning light. I remember. That is all. No elaborate prayer, no complex formula, just a declaration of what you truly are and the affirmation of remembrance. Now here's what most will never understand. The power of this practice does not come from the words themselves, nor does it come only from a movement of the eyes. The power comes from convergence. When your eyes become one, when your inner voice speaks the truth of your origin, when your consciousness focuses entirely on that invisible point above, you create a frequency signature, a signal, and that signal is recognized by the monad. Think of it this way. You've been living in a huge mansion with 1,000 rooms, but you spent your whole life in the basement, believing that was a whole house. The movement of your eyes doesn't build a staircase to the upper floors. The staircase already exists. The movement is just you remembering where it is and starting to climb. The first time you do this, you may not feel anything. That's normal. Decades of conditioning have created noise in your signal. The archonic frequencies have taught your nervous system to resist precisely this type of expansion. But don't let the initial silence discourage you. The portal responds to persistence, responds to sincerity, responds to the genuine desire for liberation, not mere curiosity. If you feel something on the first attempt, don't chase the sensation. This is crucial. Many seekers make the mistake of grasping spiritual experiences, trying to hold on to them, try to repeat them. But the monad is not an experience to be captured. It is a presence to which one must surrender. When the warmth arises, let it spread. When the silence deepens, let it deepen. When the boundaries of your sense of self begin to soften, don't panic and don't cling. You are not getting lost. You are finding what has always been beneath the false self that you were taught to build. The Gospel of Philip, another text from the Nag Hammadi library, speaks of the bridal chamber as a holy of holies. It says that in this space the divided becomes whole, the forgotten is remembered, and the exile returns home. This is not a metaphor. It is describing a real state of consciousness that you can access. Eye movement is your key to this chamber. Now, let me tell you what to expect in the hours and days after you open the portal for the first time, even if only slightly. You may notice that your dreams change. They may become more vivid, more symbolic, more full of messages that seem important, even if you can't decode them immediately. This happens because the barrier between your waking consciousness and your deeper self has become thinner. Information that has always tried to reach you now has an easier path. You may notice synchronicities increasing, significant coincidences that seem too precise to be random, a word you needed to hear emerging in a conversation, a book opening to exactly the right page, a stranger saying something that answers a question you didn't ask aloud. These are not external magical interventions. They are signs that your frequency is shifting, that you are beginning to align with a deeper pattern of reality that has always operated beneath the surface. You may also notice certain things drifting away. Relationships based on your old frequency may seem strained. Habits that once seemed important may lose their power. Desires that have driven you for years may seem empty. Do not resist this process. This is not loss, it is liberation. You are letting go of what was never truly yours. Some of you will feel this change immediately tonight, a few hours after performing the movement. Others will need days or weeks of practice before the portal opens noticeably. No path is superior to another. The monad does not measure progress the way the ego does. What matters is that you begin. What matters is that you continue. What matters is that you don't allow the resistance of the false world to convince you to abandon your return. And now I want to address something directly. You may be wondering why this technique is so powerful. It is being shared openly. Why isn't it hidden behind initiations, tests, and years of preparation? The answer is simple. The time for hiding is over. The old systems of secrecy were necessary when speaking this knowledge meant death. But we live in a different era. Now, the control structures that suppressed this information for centuries are weakening. The frequency of the planet itself is changing, and souls who have waited lifetimes to this moment are incarnating in unprecedented numbers. You are one of them. You didn't find this video by chance. You found it because you are ready. Maybe not ready to completely cross the portal tonight, but ready to see it, ready to know that it exists, ready to stop believing the lie that you are just flesh, just mind, just a temporary accident in an indifferent universe. You are light temporarily enveloped in shadow, and the shadow is beginning to dissipate. So, let me bring it all together now for you. Tonight you learned something that has been buried for 2,000 years. You learned that Mon, the source of all consciousness, is not somewhere distant in the heavens. It is within you waiting to be remembered. You learned that the material world, with all its distractions, suffering, and endless cycles, was designed to distance you from that remembrance. And you learned the precise movement, the technique of the single eye that Jesus transmitted to his closest disciples, and that opens the portal between your current state and your true origin. The movement is simple. Eyes closed, gaze rising. Slowly, both eyes converging. On a single point above and between there, physical eyes, and the inner declaration, I am the light that returns. I remember, that is all. No temples, no priests, no permission needed. Just you and the truth of what you are. But knowing is not enough. You must practice tonight. Before sleeping, find a moment of silence. Sit or lie down. Let your breath calm down and perform a movement with total presence. Don't rush, don't wait, just allow. The portal does not respond to force. It responds to sincerity. It responds to the genuine longing, a spark that is ready to return home. If you felt something while listening to this, even a flash of recognition, even a subtle warmth or a moment of stillness, that is confirmation. Your soul knows this is true, even if your mind still has questions. Trust in this knowing. It is older and wiser than your doubts. Now I ask one thing of you. If this message reached you, it was also intended for others. Share this video with that person in your life who you feel is ready. You will know who it is. Their face may have appeared in your mind while I spoke. The chosen recognize each other, and in this time of awakening, we meet again. Leave a comment below. Write the words, I remember. Let me see how many of us are gathering. Let the algorithm know that this knowledge deserves to spread. You are not what you were taught to believe. You are light. You are eternal. And now you have the key.